2025 at 7 p.m. Melissa, could you please do the roll call?
Keller.
Here?
Hedges.
Here.
Tice.
Absent.
Klitzka.
Here.
Hallinan.
Absent.
Moats.
Here.
Lukasak.
Here.
Duval.
Here.
If we could please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, followed by the...
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name.
Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread. Forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, the power, and the glory forever. Amen.
Council should have received a copy of the council meeting minutes from March the 18th, 2025. Are there any additions or corrections to those minutes? If there are none, can I have a motion for them to be approved? So moved by John Moats, seconded by Audrey Lukasak. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? The minutes will be recorded as filed. Reports from council members and committee reports. Does any council member have a report? Katie Hedges, the finance chair.
Thank you, President Keller. We had a finance committee meeting on March 28th where we discussed 4 different pieces of legislation, all of which are on the agenda this evening and will be discussed. We will have at least one other finance meeting with a date to be determined in the coming weeks in April.
Sure. Thank you very much. Let's go to the judicial committee.
Yes, sir. Just for everyone's knowledge, we will have a judicial committee meeting next Monday, the 7th of April at 6 p.m. here in council chamber.
And will that rezoning the ordinance on your agenda?
I would expect, yes, sir.
Very good. Thank you. Judicial next Monday, the 7th, 6 p.m.
Also, I'm sorry, to go along with that, Sherry has also scheduled a strategic planning meeting to follow. Did I take something from you?
That's okay.
Was that your thunder? All right.
You go ahead and tell us.
It's your turn.
On behalf of Sherry, she is not here tonight, but for strategic planning, we are going to have a short meeting on Monday, April 7th at 6:15, following the judicial committee. And it's to review an ordinance that allows the city planner to apply for a grant to develop a plan for walking and biking throughout the city. And we're also having a meeting on Tuesday, April 15th at 6 p.m. before the next council meeting. And Tim Colburn, Director of P3, will be joining us to discuss economic development in the city and county, and we'll be reviewing the recommendations in the Montrose Plan that the city adopted in 2023. All council people are invited to attend those. And then we have 3 pieces of legislation on the agenda that will speak when it comes at the appropriate time.
Very good. Thank you. Anyone else? Tom Duval, Service Committee Chair.
President Keller, we met on the 18th, the Service Committee, and I would recommend highly you taking a look at that video. Service Director and the Strand consultant basically presented the capital projects for the city of Circleville. It's a very impressive document. It will be, I think, Mayor, attached to the next month's city information blurb, if you will, so that will be available for the cities in Circleville. I was very encouraged. You heard about half an hour ago, new residential property or development coming into Circleville. We've seen industrial, we've seen some retail. It encouraged me to know that every street in the city of Circleville is being assessed and will put in a priority. We've had streets that have not had any attention for 35 years plus, and now that will be in a prioritization so that we know what's there and we'll do it as we have funds and as that need occurs. Same thing on our water lines. We now know where they are. We know what have lead in them, what don't have lead in them. That's all been assessed, and that engineering study is in the process of being developed. Same as our sewer. Several new sewer trunks are being developed, City of Circleville, so that as we grow, as we plan, and as we follow basically the study that you're going to talk about, we will be prepared for it. And we are prepared for it. And I was very encouraged to hear that. So I just offered that as a quick report from the Service Committee.
Great. Thank you, Tom, very much. Anyone else? Just a recap. So on April the 7th, Monday, Judicial Committee at 6 o'clock, Strategic Planning at 6:15. And on April the 15th, prior to City Council at 6 o'clock, there will be a Strategic Planning meeting.
President Keller, can I ask a question? I have on my calendar for the 15th that there's a public hearing at 6 for the PUD for Alta.
There is.
So that's at the same time as the strategic meeting?
Oh, hey, that's a great catch.
I wasn't aware that there was a strategic planning meeting on the 15th. That just get set up?
This was shared with me by Sherry, and so
So
with her not being here, not knowing about,
I don't have a previous email from her for that date. I just had it for,
okay.
I
Our
wonder
phone-
if
7th.
she's referring to the public hearing.
So Audrey, would you double check with her?
Sure.
Because tonight under communications, Melissa was going to announce a public hearing that's
Okay,
been scheduled for 6 o'clock on April the 15th.
okay,
So whether she wants to be before that
right.
public hearing or
okay.
have a different date, just to double check with her.
Okay. And then communicate that how?
Through the clerk, notify the
With
clerk,
you.
and she'll send
Okay,
it out to
okay.
everyone.
Okay, great, thank you.
That's a couple weeks away, so we have
Right.
plenty of time.
Okay,
Great. Thank you, Kate, for that. But Melissa was going to announce our new business. I do have some comments, council, I want to share with you. As you know, on August the 20th, 2024, City Council passed an ordinance 0857-2024 to hire a police consultant by the name of Paul Pride. I signed an agreement that described the scope of work and deliverables. Some of those were staffing to review policies and procedures of the police department, training, community relations, speaking with many shareholders in the community, elected officials, and employees. Mr. Pride delivered a report to City Council on November the 12th, 2024. He has continued to work as a consultant, and he will continue to do so on behalf of the city until mid-May. During this time, Paul will begin transitioning to a new role for the city of Circleville. Paul Pride will be the next director of public safety. And I'll let the mayor make additional comments to that when she gives her report. Paul Pride will be our next director of public safety. With that, I'll go to reports of our city officials that are here tonight as council guests. Auditor Mark Bidwell, do you have anything?
Thank you.
Kendra Kenny, our law director.
Just briefly, President Keller, obviously, I believe when we get to readings of new legislation, there will be the legislation regarding the union agreement with the fire department. I did provide counsel prior to it going to Finance Committee, an executive summary cheat sheet. So you do not have to read all of the red line changes in the 30 pages of the contract. But I just wanted to highlight everybody's attention back to that cheat sheet. If there's any questions, to let me know. As of today's date, I've still not received any questions, but just wanted to give everybody the opportunity to ask those.
Great, thank you. Mayor Michelle Blanton.
Thank you, President Keller. I just had the one thing on the agenda this evening, and that was to talk about the announcement of Mr. Paul Pride being the next Director of Public Safety. As President of Council Keller mentioned, he will transition from the role of consultant into working for the city full time. If you have questions or want to set up meetings with him, please feel free to reach out to him. He will have a city email address so that you can reach out to him and set up any meetings or ask any questions for that. He will officially start on June the 1st.
I think that is a huge win for the city of Circleville.
it is. yeah.
If you're not familiar with his experience, he worked for the Ohio State Patrol. He started in 1989 as a member of the 118th class, and then he worked in Jackson, and then by 2012 he was assistant superintendent, and then in 2013 he was appointed as the 18th superintendent of the Ohio State Highway Patrol. And so he worked his way all the way up from a road patrol all the way up to being commander.
Council, as you all know, you've had a chance to meet with Mr. Pride and have a conversation with him and ask him questions and understand what he has brought to the city and the help of the police department. He still continues to do that, and he will still welcome your input, your thoughts, and your comments. So he is still, as of today, a consultant till this transition period. Please reach out to him. Again, offer your help, your advice, your opinions. But he will be taking a more permanent role to work for both the fire and the police department.
That is a gift.
Yes.
He has already gained the trust of the police department and just his gentle spirit. So, and a relief to you, I'm sure.
Thank you for your comments.
Any questions for the elected officials that are here tonight as our guests? No? All right, thank you very much. This is the portion where the public has a chance to address city council. Would anybody like to speak to city council this evening? No? Melissa, do you have any communications?
Yes, the Circleville City Council will hold a public hearing Tuesday, April 15th, 2025 at 6 p.m. in council chambers located in the City Hall Building 127 South Court Street, second floor, Circleville, Ohio 43113. The public hearing will be to hear the following requests: Alto Real Estate LLC Plan Unit Development Incentives.
You have a motion to put that communication on file. So moved by Tom Klitzkis, seconded by Katie Hedges. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Council, that brings us to the reading of our ordinances and resolutions. So with two absences tonight, we cannot suspend the rules. So the most appropriate motion would be to hold all this legislation for either a third or second reading, whichever is appropriate. Okay? Melissa, go right here with the first one.
Resolution authorizing the Circleville Pumpkin Show, Inc. to use the city administration parking lot located at 120 East Franklin Street during the Circleville Pumpkin Show for the calendar years of 2025 through 2029 to be used as space for the arts and craft vendors.
Council, we've heard the second reading of this resolution from the Strategic Planning Committee. Audrey?
Yeah, when we met, this is each year, apparently you have this request, and it's just one of those process that we need to, but this, because we can't suspend the rules, we'll need to hear the third reading on April 15th.
So would you like to make a motion to that effect?
Yes.
To hold us for a third reading? So moved by Audrey Lukasak, seconded by John Moats. Roll call, please, on the motion to hold this resolution for a third reading.
Hedges,
Yes.
Klitzka,
Yes.
Moats,
Yes.
Lukasak,
Yes.
Duval.
Yes.
Be held for a third reading.
An ordinance authorizing the Director of Public Service to execute and file an application with the Ohio Department of Natural Resources for possible financial assistance through the Nature Works Grant Program, aid declaring an emergency.
Council, you've heard the second reading of this ordinance, again from the Strategic Planning Committee. Audrey?
As Sherry Tice had shared with us, this will allow the city to apply for the Nature Works Grant Program. The maximum amount allotted to Pickaway County this year was $23,072. If awarded, funds would go to the Pickleball Association to help build a third pickleball at Bartholomew Park. The Pickleball Association has already raised $52,000, and so the cost is $75,000. But I make a motion that we return this to the council meeting on April 15th.
Audrey makes a motion to hold this for a third reading, seconded by John Moats. Roll call, please, to hold this for a third reading.
Hedges,
Yes.
Klitzka,
Yes.
Moats,
Yes.
Lukasak,
Yes.
Duval.
Yes.
Be held for a third reading.
An ordinance authorizing the Director of Public Service to enter into a Clean Ohio Green Space Conservation Program grant agreement with the Ohio Public Works Commission to provide grant funds to improve local environment for the city of Circleville and declaring an emergency.
Council, you've heard the second reading of this ordinance, again from the Strategic Planning Committee.
This again is an ordinance and a companion to the ordinance that allow the city to apply for the grant. And the city's been awarded the Clean Ohio Green Space Conservation Grant. And the ordinance allows us, the service director, to accept the grant of $994,000 $156. And the grant will be used to purchase 2 parklands on Pickaway Street and North Court. Make a motion to forward this to our April 15th meeting.
Motion to hold this for third reading, seconded by Katie Logan Hedges. Roll call, please, to hold this for a third reading.
Hedges.
Yes.
Bliska.
Yes.
Moats.
Yes.
Lukasak.
Yes.
Duval.
Yes.
So these ordinances are for first reading.
Mhm.
A resolution authorizing Uptown Circleville Main Street Program to use city streets for their first Friday event.
Council, you've heard the first reading of this resolution from the Service Committee. Tom?
There's several, actually many resolutions that we're going to actually do annual, repeating what you've done on previous years. In this case, Uptown Circleville is holding their first Friday event. I would then move that to what, a first reading?
Be for a second reading now.
Second reading, yes, good point.
So you'll be making a motion to hold this resolution for second reading?
Yes.
Seconded by John Moats. Roll call, please, to hold this for a second reading.
Hedges.
Yes.
Bliska.
Yes.
Moats.
Yes.
Lukasak.
Yes.
Duval.
Yes.
Be held for a second reading.
A resolution authorizing Uptown Circleville Main Street Program to use city streets for their annual 3-on-3 tournament for 2025.
Tom?
Again, Uptown Circleville, 3-on-3 tournament, very successful for them, and is well received in the city of Circleville. On that basis, we'd move it to the second reading.
So moved by Tom Kutzka, seconded by John Moats. Roll call, please, to hold this for a second reading.
Hedges.
Yes.
Bliska.
Yes.
Moats.
Yes.
Lukasak.
Yes.
Duval.
Yes.
It will be held for second reading.
Resolution authorizing the Circleville Pumpkin Show Inc. to operate the annual Circleville Pumpkin Show on various streets and sidewalks of the city of Circleville.
Again, this is using the actual pumpkin show or allowing them to use the city, whereas previously we agreed to allow them to use the parking lot for the arts group.
Great.
Again, continuing.
Good.
Previous years.
Sure. You have a motion
Yes.
for second reading?
Yes, sir.
Motion to hold for second reading.
I'll do better next time.
Seconded by Audrey Lukasak. Roll call, please, to hold this resolution for a second reading.
Hedges.
Yes.
Bliska.
Yes.
Moats.
Yes.
Lukasak.
Yes.
Duval.
Yes.
It will be held for second reading.
An ordinance declaring the intent to vacate alley number 1 located in the west right-of-way of Pickaway Street and Ohio Street, being the southeast corner of the original Lot 18 in the Huston Second Edition of Circleville.
Council, for the first reading of this ordinance, again from Service.
I'd like to add all three of those together. It's Alley 1, Alley 4, and Alley 5 that's part of the old Circleville cellar lumber. Those have already been abandoned. That being said, we need to have the property owners on both sides of that agree to that. That is done. It has gone through planning and zoning, and that has been approved. So I would move, in this case, to a second reading of Alley number 1.
So moved to hold this for a second reading, seconded by Tom Klitzka. Roll call, please.
Hedges.
Yes.
Bliska.
Yes.
Moats.
Yes.
Lukasak.
Yes.
Duval.
Yes.
It will be held for a second reading.
An ordinance declaring the intent to vacate alley number 4 located in the northeast right-of-way corner of Pickaway Street and Ohio Street, being in the southwest corner of the original Lot 8 in the Huston Second Edition to Circleville.
Tom, first reading of this ordinance.
Again, this is Alley number 4, just like Alley number 1 and Alley number 5 to come.
Okay.
Hold for a second reading.
Motion to hold this ordinance for second reading, seconded by John Moats. Roll call, please.
Hedges.
Yes.
Bliska.
Yes.
Moats.
Yes.
Lukasak.
Yes.
Duval.
Yes.
Will be held for second reading.
An ordinance declaring the intent to vacate alley number 5 located in the northwest right-of-way of Pickaway Street and Ohio Street, being the southeast corner of the original Lot 18 in the Huston Second Edition to Circleville.
Council, for the first reading of this ordinance.
Move to hold for second reading.
It's been moved to hold this ordinance for a second reading, seconded by Audrey Lukasak. Roll call, please.
Hedges.
Yes.
Bliska.
Yes.
Moats.
Yes.
Lukasak.
Yes.
Duval.
Yes.
Next resolution.
A resolution authorizing Circleville Elk number 77 to use city streets for their Flag Day celebration event.
Again, annual event, well received. City of Circleville, Elks, Flag Day. Move to second reading.
It's been moved to hold this resolution for second reading, seconded by Tom Klitzko. Roll call, please.
Hedges,
Yes.
Klitschko,
Yes.
Moats,
Yes.
Lukasak,
Yes.
Duval.
Yes.
A resolution allowing the city of Circleville to adopt the Circleville Safety Action Plan.
Recalling a little bit about moving Court Street, South Court Street from 4 lanes to 3 lanes. We had an SS4A, which is Safe Streets and Roads for Everyone study, which was started back in last year, I think mid-year. That was presented at the same time we had the capital projects presented by Strand, our engineering consultant, with the support of Jim Stanley and Brian Frost. The results, the recommendation was that we do move forward on that basis because South Court Street is going to have a lot of work. We've got all the lines there that have lead in them. We've got sewer. We've got to figure out how we tie that in with the grade separation. So it's probably not going to happen until 2026. So therefore, there's no hurry. This simply is saying that we, as a council, are passing a resolution that we support what that study has recommended, and then we will have other actual ordinances implementing those recommendations.
Very good. You have a motion?
I do. Second, hold a second meeting.
Motion to hold this resolution for a second reading, seconded by Audrey Lukasak. Roll call, please.
Hedges,
Yes.
Klitschko,
Yes.
Moats,
Yes.
Lukasak,
Yes.
Duval.
Yes.
A resolution authorizing the president of Circleville City Council digitally scanning an archival preservation agreement with the HF Group.
Council, you've heard the first reading of this resolution from the Finance Committee.
Thank you, President Keller. This did come out of the Finance Committee on March 25th with a recommendation for passage. However, I will let President Keller speak to the details surrounding it.
Thank you, Katie. Yeah, so with a lot of work by our clerk and a little bit by myself, we have identified a lot of our records for the city in the past, clear back to the early 1800s. This company will help us with the preservation, scanning, digitizing, archiving all of our original legislations that was completed by the city clear back to the early 1800s. And some of those books are very fragile. Some of them have mold on them that take a special remediation. So that's one part of the project. Second part of the project is we have over 40-some boxes of documents from past meetings, which include meeting minutes, agendas, and attachments. That's a separate scanning project. This will be a phased project. We were going to address first and foremost our original legislation, but this company will be able to do all that work for us. As you remember, we passed legislation to allow the clerk to apply for a grant. The fact that we're going to move forward with this will give strength to that grant application. And again, I want to acknowledge the work that our clerk, Melissa Burns, has put into this to this point.
So again, it did come out of our committee with a recommendation for passage. So I would make a motion to hold for a second reading.
Motion to hold this resolution for second reading, seconded by Tom Klitzko. Roll call, please.
Hedges,
Yes.
Klitschko,
Yes.
Moats,
Yes.
Lukasak,
Yes.
Duval.
Yes.
It will be held for second reading.
An ordinance to authorize and implement the labor agreement between the International Association of Firefighters Local 1232 and the City of Circleville and declaring an emergency.
Council, you've heard the first reading of this ordinance from the Finance Committee.
Thank you, President Keller. First, speaking on behalf of myself only, I would be remiss to not note my disappointment that there is no presence from the fire department here this evening, including the leadership of the fire department. Some of the members of the fire department chose to take to social media this weekend to share their dissatisfaction with the city administration regarding a recent reduction in staffing, but failed to highlight the reason for that being 3 failed safety levies and the critical support that's needed throughout this community. It is my sincere hope that in the future we can work together in person and otherwise to balance everyone's desire to provide a high level of service as well as the stark reality of the financial impact of those failed levies. That being said, I would like to provide an overview of the negotiation of the recent fire contract that did come out of our committee with the recommendation for passage. Effective of January 1st of 2025, it includes a $1 equity adjustment plus a 3% increase. Effective January 1st of 2026 and then January 1st of 2027, it does provide 3% additional increase. The reopener for wages permitted in 26 and 27 is contingent upon a levy passage. It also provided an annual reimbursement of up to $250 for employees for a physical fitness incentive. It added Juneteenth as a recognized holiday. Longevity payment increased from $70 to $85 per year for 5 years of continuous service. The uniform allowance increased from $700 annually to $900. The gym or fitness membership, there was a change to reflect a little bit broader eligibility, as well as doubled from $150 to $300 annually. The employees may accumulate now up to 168 hours of comp time versus what was previous 144 hours. And then there was a paramedic certification, 2 changes. The city will cover the cost of 1 paramedic course and examination prior to enrollment versus reimbursement being following certification as it was previously. And then reimbursement required if the employee separates from employment within 3 years, and that is at staggered a percentage. Once again, that did come out of our committee with a recommendation for passage. However, without being able to pass it on the first reading, I would recommend that it be held for a second reading.
Motion by Katie Hedges to hold this ordinance for second reading, seconded by Tom Duval. Roll call, please.
Hedges,
Yes.
Klitschko.
Yes.
Moats,
Yes.
Lukasak,
Yes.
Duval.
Yes.
It will be held for second reading.
An ordinance amending the annual appropriation ordinance in the general fund 101 safety forces 0.5% tax fund 212 ARPA federal grant funds 257 of the city of Circleville.
Council, for the first reading of this ordinance from the Finance Committee.
Thank you, President Keller. So this is one that we have heard a couple of times. I will turn it over to the auditor to provide an update for us.
Thank you. These are the reductions that the mayor has worked on for the due to the failure of the levy to pass. Basically the total amount that it is negating from the budget is $229,680.02. But I will say the biggest portion is not enough. A portion of it is coming out of 101, which we're really working on to help the 101 budget. We are reducing that by $108,750, and that is the Parks and Rec director. We are not hiring, so we're going to be removing that from the budget. But there also is a land purchase that we work with, a grant, and we're paying 26% of that, which is a property for 2 parks, one on North Court Street and one on Pickway Street. And we're paying $112,000 for those, which again is 26% of total price. Other than that, there is a reduction of 1 police officer in here that's included in this budget reduction. And that comes to, for the reduction of that one person, was $88,074.22.
Thank you, Mark. And just to clarify, the reduction of the police officer is an currently unfilled position.
That is correct.
Great, thank you. So this also did come, as mentioned, from the March 25th meeting with a recommendation for passage. And I would recommend that we hold it for a second reading.
Katie Hedges motion to hold this for a second reading, seconded by John Moats. Roll call, please.
Hedges,
Yes.
Klitschko,
Yes.
Moats,
Yes.
Lukasak,
Yes.
Duval.
Yes.
Will be held for second reading.
An ordinance amending the annual appropriation ordinance in the Safety Forces 0.5% tax fund, 227 capital improvements fund, 306 waterworks operating fund, 808 waterworks improvement and extension fund, 819 water plant rehabilitation fund, 838 and sewer replacement fund, 934 of the city of Circleville.
Council, for the first reading of this ordinance, Katie.
Thank you, President Keller. This is also one that's gone through finance a couple of times. As you can see in the housekeeping ordinance spreadsheet that Mark provided, there are some very large numbers associated with this housekeeping ordinance, just over $3 million. However, about 2.6 is associated with the OWDA payment that was reappropriated as it was included previously. So we do have Brian Frost here. Brian, do you want to provide a quick overview for us?
Sure.
And it doesn't have to be that specifically, but any of these specific to your department.
Gotcha.
Thank you, sir.
Yes,
Welcome.
good evening.
Welcome.
Thank you. 500,000 of that was originally allocated for this year, was already in the budget. Simply required a name change from the recipient of that, who we were going to pay out of those funds. So it's the difference between paying a contractor on the wastewater plant and paying the engineer instead. It streamlined our process with the OWDA. The other funds are water plant, if you recall, the water treatment plant design grant that we got. there is an expectation of half of that being paid in the first year, half in the second year. They are basically passing through those funds. It is a principal forgiveness grant. So it's simply putting a placeholder for the money that's passing through our, through our auditing process. So if that gives any clarity to what those rather large amounts are.
Thank you, Brian.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
So once we had that we understood that a little bit better, we did recommend that it be passed as well, and we would recommend that it be held for a second reading.
Moved by Katie Hedges to hold this order for second reading, seconded by Tom Klutzka. Roll call, please.
Hedges,
Yes.
Klutzka,
Yes.
Modes,
Yes.
Lukasar,
Yes.
Duval.
Yes.
Is that it, Melissa?
That is it.
Is that enough?
That is enough.
Brings us to the new business portion of tonight's meeting. I have a couple absences, council. Could we excuse those people?
I'd like to make a motion to excuse Ms. Tice, please.
Tom Klutzka moves to excuse Sherry Tice from tonight's meeting, seconded by Audrey Lukasak. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed?
I make a motion to excuse Jeff Hallinan.
Don Moat, motion to excuse Jeff Hallinan, seconded by Audrey Lukasak. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Any other new business? Mayor Blanton.
Yes, thank you, President Keller. There are some timely items on the agenda for this evening that we were unable to get passed. So I would ask that council consider having a special council meeting this Thursday evening at 6 p.m. for the purpose of having the third and second reading for those pieces of legislation for consideration.
So the mayor's calling for a special meeting to hear legislation. Melissa, you're available to clerk the meeting?
Yes.
So just to recap, it will be for only the purpose of hearing second and third readings of all these pieces of legislation in the attempt to pass some or hopefully all of them. So we'll plan on that meeting then Thursday at 6 o'clock. So is there any other new business?
This really doesn't fall under new business, but I just want to say thank you to our law director for all the negotiation and all the extra work. You did a wonderful job. Thank you.
Thank you.
And for bringing our reflections to the negotiating table too. Thank you.
Thank God, we appreciate that. Anything else?
Motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn by Katie Hedges, second by Tom Klutzka. All those in favor say aye.
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 Council meeting is adjourned at 7:32 p.m.